Life before food security. In contrast to our modern comforts, full fridges and food delivery, medieval peasants faced constant uncertainty about their next meal, which was almost always bland, repetitive, and unhealthy. Modern immune systems would struggle to survive the filth and poor nutrition that defined daily life back then. Living conditions in the center of life, the pottage pot. Peasant homes were tiny, dark, and smoky huts made from mud, straw, and dung. The air inside was thick with smoke from an open fire, which kept bugs away but caused chronic respiratory issues. At the center of these homes hung a blackened iron pot, the perpetual stew, simmering nonstop. This pot was never emptied or cleaned. Each day, leftovers were added to whatever was already inside. What they ate: pottage and bread. The main food was pottage, a runny porridge made from coarse grains like oats or barley, mixed with unwashed, fibrous vegetables. The taste was bland, sometimes sour, and the texture was like thin cement. It offered minimal sustenance, just enough to keep peasants working the fields. Bread was the only other staple, a dark, dense, sour loaf made with low-quality flour, often adulterated with sand or sawdust. It wore down people's teeth and caused digestive issues. Hunger and the Hungry Gap. Each year brought a terrifying stretch known as the Hungry Gap, late spring to early summer, when winter food stores had run out and the new harvest hadn't come in yet. Starvation set in. Children became lethargic, bellies swollen. People fell sick from malnutrition. Every day was a battle to stretch dwindling rations. Water was dangerous. It was safer. Clean water was rare. Streams were often polluted with waste and chemicals, causing deadly diseases like dysentery. Because of this, even children drank small ale, a weak, low-alcohol brew that was safer than water. Though it didn't get people drunk, it helped keep them hydrated and alive. Foraging and risk of poison. In desperate times, peasants foraged for nettles, roots, mushrooms, and anything edible. But many wild plants had poisonous lookalikes, and even common mushrooms could be deadly. One mistake could kill an entire family. Despite folk remedies and guesswork, foraging was dangerous and often led to illness or death. Meat, rare and risky. Meat was almost entirely inaccessible. Hunting was illegal for peasants under harsh forest laws that reserved wild game for nobles. Getting caught poaching could mean mutilation or execution. Some risked everything to snare rabbits or squirrels. The meat had to be cooked in secrecy and hidden in the stew. Eating meat was both a crime and a lifeline. Contaminated bread and ergot poisoning. Bread made from rice sometimes carried a fungus called ergot, especially after damp seasons. This caused horrifying illnesses, gangrene, burning pain, and even hallucinations. Entire families could be afflicted. It was known as St. Anthony's fire and believed to be divine punishment. In reality, it was a deadly contaminant in the very bread people depended on. Preservation, salt, smoke, and desperation. Without refrigeration, peasants preserved meat using coarse salt, smoke, and drying. Salt pork and fish were inevitably salty and had to be soaked for days before eating. Smoking meat involved hanging it in smoky rafters for weeks. Dried beans and herbs were precious, but mold or pests could ruin them quickly. The infamous miller and flour theft. To get flour, peasants had to use the lord's mill, where the miller often stole grain or returned adulterated flour mixed with chalk or grit. Millers were deeply mistrusted and often portrayed as greedy tricksters. Their theft reduced the nutrition and increased the grit in every loaf of bread. Filthy kitchens and cross-contamination. Peasant kitchens were dirty and shared with animals. Floors were made of packed dirt. Cooking was done in soot-covered corners. Surfaces were rarely cleaned. Food was prepared with unwashed hands, contaminated water, and reused tools. Spoilage and illness were constant risks. Yet, people endured it daily, relying on hardened stomachs and luck. Slaughter time and salted meat. In late autumn, animals were slaughtered before winter. Meat had to be preserved quickly with salt. Over time, salted pork became dry, tough, and incredibly salty. The same went for fish like cod and herring. They were important protein sources, but tasted overwhelmingly briny, more survival than pleasure. Relentless battle against spoilage. Peasants constantly fought against rot, mold, and pests. Rats, weevils, and bacteria threatened their limited food. Everything was reused, even if partially spoiled. A moldy loaf might be trimmed and toasted to kill germs. Food safety was primitive, and every meal came with a risk. Final thoughts. The taste of survival. Peasant food was repetitive, unhealthy, and sometimes dangerous, but was all they had. Meals were not about enjoyment, but sheer survival. They ate not for pleasure, but because they had to, using every bit of knowledge and resourcefulness to make it through one more day.